to 9 on 94.5 ESPN, WKTI, and WKTI HD, Milwaukee.
Good Karma Wednesday.
There's sporting events out
The
there.
bag is packed with the sticks. The drinks are cold. And the scorecard's ready to go. Time to hit the links.
I don't know if we need
And
to
then
dive into
all of a sudden the putt comes, and I was like, oh, that
you
makes
were
a
there,
lot of sense.
live and in person.
And I love
back
that.
from Indianapolis. Point of view of the world.
Yeah.
It's time to go on the tee.
We're golfers, man. We're weird.
Sponsored by Majestic
Dedicated
Oaks at Lake Lawn Resort.
Yeah, I don't care too much about other things outside of golf.
And Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
If Ricky were to suddenly and unexpectedly pick one off, that would be one of the more feel-good stories.
Alongside PGA Tour Live, Stephen Watson. Here's Gabe Neitzel.
On the Tee Wednesday edition, we don't need to get into the details as to why we now are on Wednesday.
Professional golf,
And we're going to have a special guest tonight. There were one of them ended up being fine. The other, a little more depressing that I think was kind of covered all day here on 94.5 ESPN.
Again, there's
I don't
a
know
lot
if we
of
need to
attention that
dive
goes
into
towards the men's
the.
basketball team.
No, I'm good.
Yes, you were
Women's
there.
volleyball
Live and in
team's made a
person.
couple
Had to
of Sweet
drive
16.
back from Indianapolis after a tough one
Has
last
won
night.
some
Yeah,
big
just to be here for on the
and
team.
they've put,
It's,
had some
dedicated
pretty
to
good golfers come through
the
there.
brand.
So, really
Yeah,
excited
I mean,
to talk to Steve
You're
Bailey.
going to be busy here with
Head
your
coach of
golf
Marquette
over
men's
the
golf.
next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Not
A
golf
little
that
bit
you're
later, but
playing,
where I wanna
but you've
start,
got the
Steven,
Truist
is-
Championship coming up, PGA Championship coming up.
There was a bit of an incident
a busy month
this last
of May.
week.
Can't
Oh.
go here, there, and everywhere.
So
We like
I
busy
just-
business.
I like it.
It's all for
I
good
just
things.
want to
I
know
mean,
how
we're certainly
you
bummed that the
would
Buck
have
season
handled
came
this
to an end.
situation and how
But on to the next,
nothing
and
ultimately happened,
you know,
but it
we
was
got a lot to look forward
it was a
to.
little
So before we
embarrassing,
get
I would
to
say.
professional
For your
golf,
boy?
and
For
we're
you?
going to have a special guest tonight,
Not
Steve
necessarily.
Bailey,
I was
who
just
is
part of
the
the group that
head
may
coach
have
of the
been
Marquette men's
embarrassed.
golf
So I was-
team,
worse,
and
okay.
they
I was
have
playing in the
again.
Kohler
There's a lot of
Challenge,
attention that goes
which
towards
is
the men's
an event they
basketball
do
team,
early
understandably
season,
so.
late season,
Women's volleyball
and
teams made a couple of
it's
Sweet
3
16.
weekends,
That
2 days,
golf team
best
has
ball
won
between
some
you
Big
and a
East
partner.
championships, and they've put
The first 2
had some pretty
weekends
good
are
golfers come through there. So
during
really excited to talk to
spring,
Steve Bailey,
it's the original
head
championship,
coach of
and
Marquette
Irish,
men's
and then
golf.
the last weekend
A
is
little bit
River
later, but where I want to start,
and the Straits.
Stephen, is
so we played the Straits on Saturday.
there was a bit of an incident
and
this last
year,
weekend.
Oh,
mandate.
juice
So
out of the
I
gate.
just-
I like it,
I-
Neitzel.
I just want to know how
that
you
there was an
would have
overnight
handled
stay.
this situation
I ended up not
and
staying
how
overnight.
And
I
nothing
had some stuff I
ultimately
did Sunday
happened,
morning
but
before I
it
went
was
back for the round at
it
the
was a
river.
little
Couldn't treat
embarrassing, I would
Zeke, but
say.
night at the For your boy? Kohler? For you?
No, I could not when I had
Not
to be up
necessarily.
and
I was
doing
just a
best
part of the
week ever
group
at
that
6 a.m.
may have been embarrassed. So
Yeah,
I
maybe
was
not about you. It's
I
about
was
her getting
playing
nice.
in the
Night.
Kohler Challenge,
So anyway,
Yeah.
which is
so
an
the other
event they
3 guys
do
I was
early
playing
season,
with
late
out,
season,
I had my
and
partner,
it's 3
that I was
weekends.
playing with, and then
Two
we've
days.
done this the last handful of years
Best
with
ball
a couple
between
guys
you and
that
a
we also know.
partner.
Yeah.
So know
the
all the
first
guys
2
in our
weekends
group,
are
and because the 3 of
during
them were
during the
staying
spring.
over,
It's
we
the original
decide,
championship in the
we can
Irish,
get
and then the
more
last
golf in.
weekend
So we
is
decided to
River
go out on the Irish.
and the
So
Straits.
we had a little betting
So
game
we
going,
played
you know,
the Straits on
keep it rolling
Saturday.
over.
And
our
this
caddy's like,
year,
yeah, I bet
they
you
were
can fly around
mandating,
there,
as
you know,
part of
just
playing the
hour and a
River
half
Straits
on 9
edition that
holes
last
and then see
weekend,
where you're at
that there
and
was an
keep going
overnight
if you
stay.
want.
Now, I ended
So
up not
we
staying
tee off,
overnight.
and it's a little bit before
I had
4
some
o'clock,
stuff I had to
and
do
the
Sunday
group in
morning
front
before I
of
went
us.
back for the round at the river.
Couldn't
not
treat
fast.
Z to a night at the
They're
Kohler?
taking
No,
this
I
week
could
time,
not.
kinda driving
Not when I had to
back,
be up and
all
doing
over
Best
the
Week Ever
place.
at 6
And,
a.m.
You know,
on ESPN.
It's not about you. It's about her getting a nice, nice night.
Or was it open to
So
the public?
anyway,
Okay.
so the other
Open
3
to the
guys I was
public
playing with,
Just looking out for you, Z.
I had my partner that I was playing with, and then we've done this the last handful of years with a couple of guys that we also know. So know all the guys in our group, and because the 3 of them were staying over,
I don't know if
we decide, hey, we can get more golf in. So we decided to go out on the Irish. We had a little betting game going. We'll run up the Straits, keep it rolling over.
And
our
our
caddy's like, yeah, I bet you
we
could
ended
probably
up
fly
teeing
around
off
there.
a few minutes after
hour and a
our
half
scheduled tee
on
time
9
was
holes,
supposed to
and
be
then see where
because
you're at
they were,
and keep going if you want.
kind of messing around.
So
in the
we
fairway.
tee off, and
we
it's
hit
a
our
little bit
shots up
before
on the
4
one on the
o'clock,
Irish,
and the group in front
and
of
then
us.
we get to 2.
They're not fast.
And
they're
if you're not
taking their sweet
unfamiliar
time,
with-
kind of driving
with hole
back,
number 2 with the
you know,
Irish
all over the
course,
place.
it's a
And
shorter,
you know,
Were they also
par 4,
affiliated
par
with
4,
this
and there's
I
a
don't-
pond
event,
I don't
or was it
think
open
so.
to the public in addition to the event?
Open to the public in addition to the event. So, like, the Irish course was open for public play all day.
And,
you know, the Straits was,
I mean, it is
especially
a sharp
earlier in the day,
fall
was just
from
for
fairway
the
to
tournament's
putt. And
afternoon play
if
was
you're hitting it
more
on the left
open
side
to
of the
public.
fairway, it's going to the putt.
So
Like, it's probably
I
gonna
don't
trickle
know
off
if these
the
guys were thinking the same thing we
And
were, but we
I
were
kid you
thinking,
not,
hey,
it took-
let's try to
we
get
got
as
to the
much
tee
golf in
box
as we
and
can.
then proceeded to
The
watch
4 of us play
somebody
relatively quick.
look for a ball along
you know,
that
so we were standing.
shoreline for
You know,
5
we ended up teeing off a few
Like,
minutes
it's
after
gone.
what our
Like, you hit
scheduled
it
tee
over there,
time
it's
was
just
supposed to
gone.
be
Instead,
because
drop
they
your ball
were
and move on.
Kind of messing around
kind
in
of
the
commenting
fairway.
amongst
We hit our
ourselves,
shots
and
up onto one on the
guy decides to
Irish,
yell out,
and then we get
"Hey,
to 2.
come on! With his arms out to his
if you're not
side,
unfamiliar with hole
led
number
the
2
group
with
in
the
front of
Irish
us to turn
course,
around
it's a
and kinda go,
shorter,
"Hey, what do you want?"
not a long par 4, but par 4.
So,
and there's a pond all up the left-hand side.
there goes the
Just gotta
idea of
keep the tee
potentially
shot
playing
right
through
and
these
then
guys,
kinda hit
'cause
it
there's
back
no
over
way
the
they're gonna
pond,
just
at
to
this
get,
point, you just hit
near
in.
the green.
Right?
And
Bombs away.
I mean, it is a sharp
So the
fall
tee
off
box for
from
three, which is a
fairway
par
to
three.
pond. And it's, I mean,
It's not
if you're
that
hitting
far
it on
from
the
the
left side of the
green. So after we
fairway,
hit our tee
it's going in
shots
the
and,
pond. Like, it's probably going to trickle
I
off
hit
and
my
roll.
approach shot, and the guys in the
I
other
kid you
cart
not,
had already
it took,
gone up by the green.
we got to the tee box and then
apparently
proceeded
had
to
another
watch
conversation
somebody
with the gentleman of,
look for a
well,
ball
we just
along
wanna
that
have,
shoreline
have
for
fun
5
playing
minutes.
golf. We don't want people yelling in our
Like,
backswing.
it's gone. Like, you hit it over there, it's just gone. It's dead. Drop your ball and move
You
on.
didn't even have a club in your
And,
hand,
you know, we're
man.
kind of
Like,
commenting
what are
amongst
you
ourselves,
talking
and
about?
one
You know, if
guy
anybody's
decides to
talking
just
in your
yell out,
backswing,
"Hey,
have a
come
club,
on!"
the ball in play
with his
for anybody
arms
talking in your
out to his
backswing.
side. Which led the group in front of us to turn around and kind of go, "Hey, what do you want?"
Big where, push came to shove.
So
these guys then on hole 4.
there goes
which
the
is
idea of
brutal
potentially
hole,
playing
long
through
par
these
four.
guys because there's no way they're going to let us
at
play
this
through.
point, you
They
just
had
hit
blown
in,
their tee shots,
right?
right? They're looking.
Bombs
we're
away.
looking, and I guess
so the tee box for
maybe us
3,
yelling
which is
at
a
them
par
helped because
3,
the guy came driving back.
it's
and
not
said,
that
"Hey,
far
this
from the
is
green. So after we hit our tee shots and
sheepishly, so we had to pay
I
$20
hit my
for that.
approach shot and
Did
the
we
guys in
handle
the
the
other cart had
situation
already gone
right?
up by the green
Well,
and apparently had another
we handle it
conversation
correct?
with
I
the
mean, we
gentleman.
ended up-
Very kind
well,
of you
we
to
just want to
lump
have
yourself
have
into
fun
the
playing
weeds.
golf. We don't want people yelling in our backswing.
So
I know.
I'm a part of the group. Like whatever
You
was,
weren't. You didn't even have a club in your hand, man. Like what are you talking about? You don't want anybody's
we ended
talking
up
to your
getting
backswing.
the end result that we desired. We ended up playing through them, and then we were able to play relatively quick after we played through them.
Couple of follow-ups here.
Okay.
Was there a Giannis, John Halliburton situation nose to nose from the groups at all?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. I
All
mean,
right.
again, the
Good.
closest that anybody got, they were on the tee box and maybe halfway between. I mean, they got maybe 15 feet away is the closest that any one person from
Okay.
our group got to any one person from their
That's
group.
good. You can't be, you represent our brand here.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows who I am. I hadn't said a word at this point.
No, but everybody knows your voice.
That's why I didn't say a word to this
That's
point.
fair. Was there anybody in front of them?
No.
Wide open.
Wide open. So when we were on 2, the closest people we saw were teeing off. We could just see them leaving the green on 4 and teeing off on 5, which is a par 5. So that meant, like, as they were teeing off on 3, obviously they didn't have to wait for anyone, and all of hole 4 ahead of them was open. And it was just like a twosome in front of them. So, I mean, we never saw that group ever again. Like, after we played through, we did not wait on anybody. We did not see anybody because it was, maybe it was a threesome. Either way, they were playing quick and it was a twosome in front of them. Like, we didn't see people because the course was pretty wide open, even though it was a nice afternoon. It was, I don't know how many people are playing at 4 o'clock late in April. So we were just flying.
Question 3.
Okay.
Were you trying to play 18 holes, or were you just trying to play golf?
I mean, we wanted to play as many holes as possible.
Okay.
Ultimately got 18 in. But we paid whatever it was, the replay rate, and
Okay.
knowing that, okay, if we're teeing off at 352, 353, I think was the official tee time.
Yeah.
There's a possibility you don't get all 18 in, but we want to get in as many as we possibly can because we got nothing else to do.
Now, I'm not a big believer in shouting at the group in front of you.
Yeah.
I'm not a believer in hitting into the group in front of you, of course.
Sure.
But it sounds like you kind of made out okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got the end result. I feel a little dirty about how we got to the end result that we desired.
But unfortunately, it kind of takes either you approaching them, having somebody be, take one for the team and drive up and address, like, hey, we're trying to get this 18 holes in. Understand you guys are out here hacking it away. Is there any chance we could play through? You would hope that people have the wherewithal to invite you through, but most people don't. And most people don't care, especially when they're playing on golf courses like that where they paid a lot of money. They are doing that for themselves.
And so I think the second conversation, that the actual conversation that happened between not the guy who initially yelled, because I think that would have really escalated things, but his partner ended up talking with the group over there. Hey, we're just trying to play. Yeah, so are we, man. We don't want to be standing on the tee box watching you look in for a ball that, guess what, Steven? Spoiler alert. It was gone. He had to take a drop.
So you're telling me course record was probably safe.
Course record was safe. And again, like on the first tee, you're like, okay, these guys, when you have somebody in a cart who's like driving up and then driving back.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, it's the first hole. We'll give them a break. But then again, watching somebody walk an entire shoreline on a par 4 looking for a ball that's not going to be there, because again, it falls off so sharply. Like it was.
There's really no good way to do it. I think the most polite way to do it, and it still comes across as passive aggressive, is just to skip a hole. Get in front of them.
Yeah.
Go out, play, maybe revisit that hole.
So
that's why I asked, were you trying to play 18 or not? Because
the tough part about doing that at a place like the Irish,
you don't know who's in front of them, right?
Well, I mean, we kind of had an idea. If we had skipped a hole, I think we would have been fine. But a lot of times, if let's say we're playing just around at Wisconsin Club, right? We're just up at Wisconsin Country Club. Like the holes run into each other, right? Like the holes, like, okay, we'll skip these two and we'll play this. I mean, we've done our own little routing. Oh, we'll play 10, 11, and then 18 back up.
Yeah.
Because it's, just quick little 3-hole loop. We can do this because this is the time we have. There's nobody out there. We can do this. At a place like the Irish, like the holes aren't really stacked on top of each other, right? Like it's not an easy drive.
Yeah.
So now in order to skip a hole, you have to drive past the people that you're skipping. Because there's no, you know what I'm saying? Like there's no.
But I think there's a way to do it tastefully when you drive by and you just go, we're just going to play through. We're trying to beat daylight.
Yeah.
Something like that. And you don't even address the fact that they stink at golf.
Yeah.
You just say, we're just trying to beat daylight, want to get as many holes in as possible. Hope you don't mind. We see it's clear in front of you. And then they're like, oh, you quietly teach them a lesson because they go, maybe we should have had.
I mean, that ship had sailed once, we had the yelling exchange.
Well, I'm just telling you how to do it for the next time.
Okay.
I don't exactly encourage screaming, yay, move along, because when you go to a resort golf course like that,
yeah,
the whole point of public golf on properties like that is they pay just as much as you did. And if they want to go shoot 120, let them go shoot 120.
Sure, but again, there's pace of play on a lot of those scorecards, no matter where you play, for a reason.
It's my biggest problem in this game.
Well, that's why
slow golfers.
I was hoping you would be an ally for me here.
Hey, I'm an ally for you. I don't know if I'm an ally for your guy who's screaming at the top of his lungs from the tee box.
Yeah, I'm not gonna name names.
Not my personal move.
Protect identities.
But he essentially took one for the team, so maybe he is the MVP in this situation because you got what you wanted.
He's a bit of a hero because he eventually led to the situation where, kind of fixing it.
You kind of need that guy in your group, right?
Yeah, I'm not going to be that guy. But
you're way too nice.
I'm kind of glad I had him.
But you know what I visualized?
What's that?
One of my favorite things about you on the golf course. The nights will walk.
They start pacing.
Pacing around that tee box. Furious about pace of play. Because I know there's nothing that gets you going more than slow play.
I hate it.
And you have to deal with it more than others because you bomb the golf ball. So you have to wait for people to clear a spot that I don't. I was like, yeah, I'm good to go, right, Gabe? Like, I know it's your tee, but I'm going to hit first. For you like there are drivable par 4s coming to play, or, depending on slots and all that, like par 5, you have to wait for maybe 2-3 shots ahead for some groups to get to. So it's a tough position. There's no right way to go about it.
But it's one thing that, I mean, and oddly enough, like the only tour doing anything about slow play right now is the LPGA, and it may have cost R.J. Chanagarn like a major championship because her group was on the clock, and then he ends up duffing a chip on the 18th, having to make bogey in order to get in a playoff, loses in the playoff. Like the only one doing anything about slow play anywhere right now, it seems like, is the LPGA. And look, I'm not expecting a marshal to be out there at 4:00 on a Saturday at the Irish to police that. I'm just saying we got to police ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we ultimately did.
The people who are in the wrong are the slow golfers, right? Like always. That is number one.
Always and forever.
And number 2, probably your boy. Didn't handle it the best, but he ends up being the hero in our story. That's why you got to let these things play out.
What I'm hearing from you is all's well that ends well. So we were not at fault at all.
No, it doesn't bother me a ton. Did he brag about the fact that he let his voice be heard by the end of the round?
No.
Did he take credit for you guys finishing 18? Because I kind of would love him to lean into it.
I mean,
now I really want to know who this guy is.
Nobody you know.
Okay.
Nobody you know. We'll protect the identity of the innocents.
You need the guy in your foursome who's
or guilty.
Every once in a while going to take one for the team.
Again, he took charge. We got ultimately what we wanted. Still have plenty of things to dive into. As I mentioned, Steve Bailey, Marquette University head golf coach, is going to be joining us. Plus, time to talk a little bit of team golf, and not the one that I'm always worried about in terms of the Ryder Cup and what Team USA looks like, but of course, the Zurich Classic of New Orleans and team golf on the PGA Tour. We do that coming up next, but we are presented by our friends at Majestic Oaks Golf Course. Book your tee time today, lakelawnsresort.com. Beautiful golf course, 2 miles of Lakeland of shores around the lake down there. Fantastic golf course. Can't wait for Steven and I to get down there, experience it for ourselves. The website is great, and they've got great deals for families. That's right. You and your family can get out there and play at a very decent rate. Book your tee time. Find out more. LakeLawnResort.com. What year is this now for the Zurich Classic of going to teams?
This is the 8th year.
8th year?
Yeah. 2017 is when it started, and 8th year. We still have never had defending champions.
Would you, repeat. Which honestly I thought we would have this year.
Yeah.
Just because Rory and Shane.
Yeah, I got spoiled this week on PGA Tour Live. 3 of my 4 days I was following Rory and Shane.
Oof.
It was fun.
That's not bad.
It was fun.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel like this event has success, has had success? I feel like it's had success, certainly for the players playing in it. I understand they want to stand out from the other tournaments, which it does. But at the same time, I'm still not quite sure how I feel about it.
I think people complaining about the Zurich are just trying to find something to complain about.
I'm not complaining about it. I just was hoping it would pop more.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it exists doesn't bother me. But the thought process behind 8 years ago going and switching was, oh man, this event will stand out. And maybe there's just circumstances beyond their control where it's just, unless you're a major championship, even though, again, Liv doesn't have a ton of great players, but it still took away some of those top-end players. Like, it just feels like maybe it's really hard to stand out as a PGA Tour event unless you're at some sort of iconic venue.
I think the thing that Zurich gets knocked on the most is just the field. And
again, that's just hard because
it falls in a terrible time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's coming right off of the RBC Heritage, which is coming right off of the Masters. So you go from Masters to a signature event to this. I think them going to the team format is the best way to keep this event alive and allow New Orleans to host it. And they want to host it that weekend because they like to align it with Jazz Fest and kind of make New Orleans a big party for this entire weekend. It's been the theme of the entire PGA Tour season. We want to see the stars. We need to see the stars because the stars are starting to play well, and that's been better for golf fans. We were fortunate to be able to see Rory and Shane come out, and the first time that we saw Rory since Augusta, they were without question the headlines, and the crowds followed them. But there were some good groups in there. I think overall it was a little underwhelming when you looked at some of the pairings and the teams. But I do think in the end it still delivered a good story with Novak and Ben Griffin, 2 guys who have been knocking on the door for their first PGA Tour win. And Novak, I mean, his last 3 weeks, he went 3rd, 2nd, 1st. This is a guy who has all of a sudden elevated his name into playing a different team golf later this year, got to say, for Team USA.
Is he 9th? I think he's
6th right now.
6th?
In the FedEx Cup, he's 6th. I don't know where he's at in the Ryder Cup rankings.
But I care about the FedEx Cup. It is a Ryder Cup year, Steven.
I understand. I mean,
care about the FedEx Cup.
I get some paychecks now from PGA Tour. I'll give FedEx Cup some love. But no,
okay, that's fair. Hey, that's fair.
But I think he's a guy who's trending. Ben Griffin,
he's 9th. Andrew Novak is 9th on the Ryder Cup list.
Yeah, I mean he's having a heck of a season, and he. You know, the knock on it, though, is like the thing that's been holding him back is finishing off a golf tournament. And he did not play very well on Sunday. His partner, Ben Griffin, actually was the one who carried them an alternate shot, making the big putt on 17.
Yeah.
Secured the win for them. So that's kind of what's funny about the team golf, but also kind of what you love about the team golf is it's the only team event on the PGA Tour. So why not lean into something that's a little bit different? Because if the Zurich was another individual event falling after Augusta and RBC Heritage, it would get lost. And it would, not to knock other tournaments, but it's probably the 3M, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or even kind of what the John Deere has become.
Rory's not playing in this event unless he gets to play with Shane.
100%. And that was all these players talked about. Like, I mean, it was pretty awesome to see Rasmus and Nikolai Højgaard, twin brothers, play in a team event together and find themselves in contention. Even some like the old school names that you're not used to hearing. We followed along with Brandt Snedeker and Ches Reavie. who found themselves making the cut, whereas some of the other groups who didn't make the cut over the weekend, like Colin Morikawa and Kurt Kitayama. The fun things about this game is you can have two guys who are 44 and 43 making it to the weekend as a team over Morikawa, who's the number 4 player in the world right now, and Kurt Kitayama, who, kind of fell apart in that Friday afternoon round. But I like it. I think, is it perfect? No. Is it kind of phony that they get a full PGA Tour win as a team?
Yeah.
A little bit, but what else? You're not going to give half wins to somebody. That's outrageous.
How many wins did you have in your PGA Tour career? Well, I got the 12 and a half.
Let other people give you an asterisk. It's so hard to win on the PGA Tour. And when you play...
Especially, what's even harder to win on the PGA Tour? Alternate shot.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone hates that format.
It's great television. Like Friday and Sunday going alt shot. I mean, it was as enjoyable as some other rounds that we've seen, Thursday through Saturday rounds on the PGA Tour. They didn't have the most dramatic finish at the Zurich, mainly because Griffin made that putt on 17, and we had really terrible multiple weather delays.
Yeah, I was about to say weather delays didn't certainly help there.
There were some broadcast delays. All the TV cameras froze. That wasn't fun, but so it kind of put a little bit of a damper into the finish out there. But overall, I mean, it's hard to win in that format. Certain names rose to the top. And when you see Shane and Rory kind of grinding an alternate shot, it's fun.
And I guess, and that's my only issue with it is how do we make it better? And the only way to make it better is to get more stars involved. Yeah. And it's just not going to happen. I understand where the PGA Tour is. It's just such a tough spot to be in because they've decided they want these elevated signature events. And it's hard to... If you're going to elevate them, then the money has to go up. Now you've got to ask the partners for it. Maybe Zurich doesn't want to pony up.
Yeah.
And it just becomes tough because like with the RBC heritage, RBC, fantastic partner for the PGA Tour. No doubt about it. The way
awesome
that they've thrown.
Harbortown.
Awesome golf course. Just the week after do we need to have an event right the week after the Masters? Like, don't get me, and JT ended up winning it this year, so that ended up being fun, especially in the playoffs. So by the time Sunday rolled around, okay, I'm kind of locked into this. But when Thursday hit, it's like, oh, I'm still not over Rory winning the Masters.
Yeah, and this is a really meaty part of the schedule too. I mean, it goes Masters, RBC Heritage, Zurich, Byron Nelson, Truist, which is formerly the Wells Fargo, normally at Quail Hollow. This year it's going to be at the Philadelphia Cricket Club, the Wissahickon course, which will be amazing, by the way. And then they go to Quail Hollow for the PGA Championship. I mean, this is as tight of a portion of the schedule as you're going to see on tour.
Well, and that's part of the issue right now on the tour is the schedule.
Yeah.
Like trying to figure out how, and I don't want to diminish it. It's obviously a very tough job of trying to balance the money and the dollars and making partners happy and everything else, because obviously RBC is paying extra money to have a signature event, to have the elevated event at RBC. But wouldn't it be nice if every once in a while some of these other events got elevated? Like if the Zurich got elevated once every 4 years and we got the big names there. Again, that doesn't always guarantee that you're going to be there because Rory didn't show up at RBC this year. Mm-hmm. He was rightfully so exhausted after winning the Masters. So he wanted to go home and celebrate, see his family, see his parents.
Apparently he went on a 40-hour bender.
Again, I can't imagine I could do 40-hour bender, but I've never also won the Masters, and I'm guessing that's one hell of a drug. Winning the green jacket.
Yeah.
So
paired with maybe others. I don't know.
But the point is, like, I like this event. I just wish we had more teams like super teams like Rory and Lowry. Again, not to
2 years ago, it was Xander and Cantlay who won it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your Ryder Cup.
John Rahm has played in this event before he went over to live. Scotty's played in this event before. Like, we've had some of the bigger names who have played in it. It's when you go to the elevated model, the way that they have, before you get to Augusta, you're still able to survive because enough big names are going to be playing. And we saw that. Yeah. And we saw some big name winners in some non-signature events this year, right? The Copper at the Copperhead course in Tampa,
Valspar.
At the Valspar, we had JT coming down the street. That wasn't an elevated event.
Yeah, with Hovland,
and Hovland ends up winning. That's not an elevated event. But all those guys are trying to get starts in because they also know once you hit major season, it's all about, okay, how do I best prepare myself for the majors? And we've had this conversation before on this show about how I don't like the PGA in May, A, because it eliminates Whistling Straits from their rotation, but B, it just so condenses everything in the golf season.
It's also a Ryder Cup year too, so these guys need to pick the events to get their points.
Yes.
Who might not win a major or might not win a PGA Tour event, but want to get in on points.
Well, guess what? How that's decided. How much money you win in these tournaments.
Yeah.
And so you're going to want to play the big time events. So this is going to get overlooked. Good on Rory and Shane. And again, both European Tour players, so their calculations are a little bit different. I mean, plus it's Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry. Like, these guys are going to be on the team.
Yeah, I mean, Rory doesn't play in this without Shane.
Correct. But I'm glad that they do. But it's tough to get those bigger names to pair up based on what the schedule is now with the PGA coming up later this month, just off of the Masters and guys, basically working backwards of, okay, I want to play this event. I mean, probably going to want to play Truist because that's going to be, elevated and all, trying to build your schedule off of that. Before major season starts, you're getting enough big names. You're not getting enough big names for the Zurich. You brought up the 3M. If you're not a signature event at this point in the season, the field's just not going to be very good.
Yeah, and I think, the Zurich isn't going anywhere anytime soon. They actually announced extending the partnership through 2030. So
I got to imagine being on site for that thing is electric.
Yeah, it's fun. It is fun. The golf course, maybe not the strongest Pete Dye, I have to say. Like, I wish there was another maybe routing we could see in the New Orleans area. But it's a TPC, it's Pete Dye. There's enough challenges. The weather wasn't really going. I know it's a course that's wide open, designed to have the wind going, and it was just kind of one of those humid, stale weather weekends in New Orleans and, pop-up showers and 2 weather delays. So that kind of took away, I think, a little bit from the drama of the event. But yeah, it really doesn't bother me because it's the only thing like it on the tour. And I think that it's kind of a refreshing change of pace to a time of year on the PGA Tour where they need something that's just a little unique. And I think it fits there. And I'd like to see maybe another type of this event or maybe a smaller field size with some bigger names for a team event, or maybe an PGA, LPGA crossover event or something maybe later in the season or in the fall that could kind of bring that team element back in. Because it's fun with team event because I think it's the most relatable form of golf for the common folks to understand. Like the pressure that it puts on yourself to not let your partner down, or knowing like what that feeling is like on a tee box when it's alternate shot.
See, you want to make guys uncomfortable on Sunday, make them play alternate shot.
Yeah.
Which is something I like.
And that's something we can all do whenever we go and play our Sunday games or our Thursday games, is go out there and just kind of shake things up. Go out there and try alternate shot. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, this is different.
Yeah.
And maybe you don't get an opportunity to do that at maybe your member guest or something like that. But I urge people to go try that format because it will humble you very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Which is why I like it. Like, I've embraced it in a couple of different Ryder Cup things that we've played in, Steven. And because everybody else hates it, I find myself like, I'm not better or worse than anybody else. It's just about trying to embrace it more than your opponents.
And having the right partner too. I mean, not getting too emotional, but also being able to motivate each other is a huge part of it. I mean, I can tell you there's no worse feeling than letting a partner down. You can let yourself down, you can go to bed at night, but letting a partner down on like a short missed putt or blowing one into the woods off the tee and making them re-tee 3. That's awful.
The number one rule of alt shot is no apologies.
Yeah.
No apologies. It's not like you tried to miss that putt. It's not like I tried to blow it into the woods and make you hit 3 off the tee. But again, I think it is fun. I don't think there's anything they can necessarily do, is the unfortunate part. It may be if, and again, to me, it's still a big if, the tours ever figure it out and come together, maybe they can look at the schedule and have a little bit more fun with whatever they're putting together.
Yeah, and I think probably the most controversial part of the Zurich is getting individual wins for a team event. And if you look at the list of names on there, a lot of them, it's their only PGA Tour win. Let them have that moment.
Look, also, just go back and look at the history of the PGA Tour and some of the other events that they've given out official wins for.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, Tiger Woods, certainly not on that list. But again, you start going back far enough, and Sam Snead, who's got the 81 wins or whatever with Tiger.
Yeah.
There's some questionable ones on that list.
Let Billy Horschel be a 2-time Zurich winner.
Yeah. The only one with an individual and team championship.
Yeah.
Shout out to Billy Boy.
Except for his withdrawal on Wednesday. That wasn't fun.
Yeah. That's tough.
Yeah.
So wait, what do they do in that situation? His partner just gets paired with somebody
It's actually
random?
fascinating. I'll tell you really quick.
Okay.
So if your partner withdraws on Monday, you have the ability to pick your partner.
Okay.
But because Billy withdrew on Wednesday, Tom Hoagie was just given the first alternate, which ended up being Kevin Chappell. But there's a likelihood that if somebody else withdrew and somebody got Kevin Chappell, like all of a sudden Hoagie gets slotted in with somebody he might not know him, he might not want to play with him. It kind of creates a messy situation. I had no idea until I was working the tournament this weekend, and I asked, and they're like, oh no, but you have until Monday night to pick your own partner, and then they give you the first alternate on top of that. So Hoagie ended up getting in with Chappell. They made the cut together. This was Chappell. I think he was ranked 366th in the world. This is only the third event he's played this year, and him and Tom Hoagie made the cut together, which ended up being one of the good stories over the weekend.
Yeah, that's okay. That is kind of fun. I was wondering. I'm glad you could fill us in on that. We're going to fill you in on the latest on Marquette men's golf. Their head coach, Steve Bailey, joining us next after I tell you about our friends from Erin Hill. Steven and I going to be out there. Media Day is on Monday for the 80th playing of the U.S. Women's Open Championship. Right here in Wisconsin this year at Erin Hills, coming up at the end of next month. We're like a month away from that championship. So excited, and you can play it. Just book your tee time. Find out more information at erinhills.com. A big congratulations to the Marquette men's golf team making their 6th NCAA Division I championship regional appearance after winning the Big East Conference earlier this week, April 28th. And joining us now to talk about it, Steve Bailey, their head coach. Coach, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations. What about Marquette has allowed you to kind of put together this many teams that are always so competitive in the Big East?
Yeah, first off, thanks for having me on, Steve and Gabe. I appreciate it. Where do I start? I mean, there's obviously so many things special about what we have going here. I'd say first and foremost is, obviously the attractiveness of the education and what guys get and being well-rounded. And then, as you two know, the golf courses we have access to are maybe the biggest perk that we sell to recruits. It's not too often, or maybe at all, that folks get a host at a U.S. Open venue like Erin Hills, which we have our annual event at, and then to have the opportunity to go up to Kohler and play those courses. The team went out to Sand Valley this past year, and then I would say we have another 15 places that we play on a regular basis in Milwaukee land. So one, just the opportunity to play that caliber of championship courses and the variety that it brings. And then, hosting an event at a place like Erin Hills and the reciprocity that comes with that. And so that helps us build our schedule to where, we trade out and can pretty much handpick where we want to go. And, you couple that with our practice facility at the University Club and then our indoor facility here on campus, which the guys have 24-hour access to. And then we also put a dome up in the winter. And then, we get to travel across the country and play some amazing places. So that's just a small sample of what Marquette has provided for these guys to be able to thrive and better their games.
All right, Steve, I have a pretty easy follow-up. Are you guys hiring?
Yeah, we always have a spot. So I'd say that. I mean, that's another thing. We brought on a guy that you're going to be familiar with, and Jordan Niebrugge, who's been a huge part of our success this year. And, to have a guy who's played in 4 majors and, and a top 6 finish at a British Open on our coaching staff. And then Josh Robinson, who played here as well and has joined our staff this year. We're so very fortunate to have those guys, and just the experience that they bring to the table has been huge for our program.
All right, Steve, we know it was an emotional day for you and your squad, finding out where you're going to be landing in the NCAA tournament, heading back to Urbana. So you're staying in the Midwest in Illinois as an 8 seed. How do you feel like you guys stack up, and what makes this part of the year so unique with this match play format?
Well, I like our chances. We've won 3 straight events here, and in the last 5 tournaments we've played, we've only lost to 2 teams, and I think we broke a school record this year in winning 5 times. So our guys, it's it's going to be a position where we've been familiar with down the stretch here, and we played a lot of the teams that we're going to see throughout the year, and have had good success against them, and so there might not be a lot of odds makers who are picking us, but our guys 1 through 5, they've all, and I could even say 6, have all been a part of this journey, and have all contributed. We had our freshman who was in a 5 spot, shoot 64 and win the tournament in Charlotte a few weeks ago, and so I love our depth, and that's huge. And then to play a place, we played an Illinois event last spring, and it's one of those tough, grinded out, par's a good score type golf courses, and I know if Mike Small, the head coach, has anything to do with it, it's going to be set up really tough, and so that's what we like. That we want a place where I feel like our guys thrive when they have to scrap it out, and that's kind of what we prided ourselves on, is just kind of having that find a way attitude. And yeah, so we're pretty excited about the Urbana Regional.
Steve Bailey is the head coach of Marquette Men's Golf, as he mentioned, going to the Urbana Regional. That will be May 12th through the 14th, 6th NCAA regional appearance for the Marquette men's team. I keep hearing great things about the indoor facility you mentioned just earlier. What's the latest you've ever caught someone, for lack of a better term, practicing in the beautiful indoor facility you guys have?
Yeah, if we were to look at the camera feeds, I think there might be a few that have spent the evening in the place, or woke up early one morning. So it's no, we're so fortunate. These guys, they live here. They're gym rats, and I think we've been really fortunate to kind of create a culture where, just that competition is what really fuels their fire, and they live in the place. And it's nice to have it right here in the middle of campus. And so the door's always open for you, Gabe. I got a quick side story. I played in a.
I don't know if you want to open the doors, Steve. I mean, he will quite literally take you up on that.
I know how good his game is, Stephen. I played in a charity event, the Tee It Up for a Cure, this past fall, and apparently the group that I was with had Gabe on their squad last year, and all they kept telling me about was how much further Gabe hit it than I did. So they were busting my chops all day about it.
Well, I get to hear it every single week on this show. So, yeah, thank you for the reminder this week, Steve.
You guys, you still had a good time with those guys. It's a good group, right?
Yeah.
Despite all that?
Good time, yeah. But they were hyping you up for sure.
Steve, I'm curious, as a coach in golf, when it comes to this match play format, do you just let the guys be themselves, or do you have particular strategy in how you pair guys up? What is kind of your role in getting the best out of your team this time of year?
Well, so it's a little unique enough. This regional we'll go to, it'll be strictly stroke play. So it's 54 holes of stroke play. Now you got to make it to the finals, and then that's 72 holes of stroke play, and then the top 8 then advance to match play. So I like that you're already pushing us through to the finals, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm speaking it into existence.
Yeah. No, I like it, and obviously I wish we played a lot more match play in college golf, because it's that head to head. You're not hiding behind anyone, and so it's a great format, and we're fortunate to play the Big East match play event, this spring, and our guys really enjoy that format. But yeah, so this will be a grinded out, and the top 5 teams will then advance on to La Costa, through the regional. So yeah, we're excited about the opportunity.
Steve Bailey, the head coach of the Marquette men's golf team. When people say college athletics, clearly the topic of NIL, transfer portal, that all comes up. How much has that trickled down to the collegiate golf world?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been some. I wouldn't say it's affected us a whole lot. We've got a deal with a rangefinder company, and a couple guys get maybe a free pizza a month from Lou Malnati's. But outside of that, it hasn't factored in a whole lot, and it's bringing everything. If this whole house suit comes through, then it'll be more in-house. I feel with so much of the NIL stuff. But no, it hasn't factored in a whole lot with what we're doing.
All you have to do, Steve, is just open up a piece of paper that has the top 100 public golf courses in the country, and you can just run down all of the ones on Wisconsin that the guys can come play here in the great state. So, something that we love to do whenever we have guests on the show, especially somebody with local ties like yourself. What's your favorite golf course in the state?
Oh man, we're going to spend a lot of time. I love Erin Hills. It's a special place, and being able to host our annual event out there, just everything that it offers. I'm a huge fan of the place, but it's tough to go away from what they have at Kohler too, and there. And the way we played Milwaukee Country Club, we hosted our event there a few years ago, and I still have coaches to this day talk about it might have been the best course setup they've ever played. I mean, if you didn't hit a fairway, you weren't able to hold a green, and it was a phenomenal test for those college guys, and it's hopefully we'll be back there at some point too. But we're pretty darn fortunate, aren't we? Places I told you guys earlier, it's arguably the biggest perk we have in terms of selling our program, because the courses have been so generous to our program and allowing us to get out and play there, and there's so many in the area that we don't wear out a welcome, and so but it's been great prep, and this coming week we'll try to get to as many as we can to get our games ready and go get after it in Champaign.
Yeah, we're pretty spoiled here, that's for sure. And then I'm curious, I know you have this incredible indoor facility, but how are you guys able to compete with some of these other colleges around the country that have better weather throughout the entire year? Is it really just the technology in this indoor facility, or are you guys traveling that much more than other teams around the country? How do you stay that competitive and continue to market Wisconsin and Marquette in particular to out-of-state players?
Yeah, I always say that it's the lens that you view it from. We obviously, the one thing we know is that we know what we're doing every day in practice, so it's very predictable. And then we really focus on what we have here and what we can do. And so I always give the example. We play our first event in Puerto Rico at the same venue. They play the tour event, and Hunter Eichhorn a few years back, playing his first event out of the winter, shot a 61. It was the lowest round in college golf all year. And so I always say if Hunter was able to do that, there's no excuses. So we have everything we need to be able to prepare us for those moments. And we obviously have to take a bunch. We take 2 or 3 trips down south before that first event. And so, we're doing all we need to do. And I'd say we spend a lot of time in the mental game and just preparing. And I think there's something about our connectedness that we have with our team and just our culture, and really building that competitiveness within and everything we do. So there's not a day that goes by in practice where we don't have some sort of competition, and I feel that's a big part of it. When we do get outside, it's we have the resources to allow these guys to succeed and to prepare them.
Coach, thank you so much for the time. Congratulations on the Big East Conference Championship. Best of luck at the Urbana Regional coming up May 12th and 14th.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, we'll see you at match play.
GolfTheBog.com. That's the website you need to be going if you want to experience the beautiful golf course on a very unique piece of property up in Saukville, just minutes outside of downtown Milwaukee. Golf the Bog. Steven and I are going to be there. Well, I guess I'll be there in a little bit. More on that in just a moment. Playing 100 holes that hosts the ESPN Milwaukee Open. They've always been great partners to us, so check them out. GolfTheBog.com. And as I mentioned, the Bog, which has been the host of the Ringer event, Steven, you and I teaming up once again with our buddy Greg Matzik, raising money for the MAC Fund, playing 100 holes. Unfortunately, though, you're not going to be part of those festivities this year.
Yeah, Mother Nature entering the chat. Decided to postpone it a week just because of the ensuing weather that's coming tomorrow on deck. I'm bummed we have to miss it. I'm going to be out of town doing the Truist next week, but I will be rooting you guys on from afar. I know that you guys will get it done. You'll make birdies, and hopefully for anybody listening, you can find a way in your hearts to donate to this incredible cause. That's the one benefit of this being pushed back a week. I know that for me, selfishly, I'm not going to be able to play, which is a bummer, but that gives you, the listener, an opportunity to open your wallets and make a difference for the MAC Fund. It's an incredible, incredible organization raising money for, kids and families battling childhood cancer and cancer research for blood disorders. And it's there's not enough good things you can say about the work that they've done, the money that have been raised. And this particular event is one of their highest grossing in the MAC Fund's history. And we're proud to be a part of it. And if you can find it in your hearts to think about what this money can do for one of these kids or these families, it can go a long way into making a difference.
Yeah, I know a lot of you donated earlier today. KBN that I was on, having fun with those boys earlier this afternoon. Check that out on the Wisconsin ESPN Wisconsin app. Go back and listen to that. If you want to contribute, golf, GOLF. That's the word you text to 800-990-3776. Link will be sent right to your phone. And we still have money left on that $10,000 match going on, courtesy of our friends at Paintings for Pediatrics. Very generous, stepping up this year, going from $5,000 to $10,000. So your $5 donation becomes a $10 donation. You can do the math from there. But thank you to our friends out there at Paintings for Pediatrics, our friend Craig Sorbo, for stepping up and helping us out with that once again. So our one call, that's all. I'm springing this on you, Stephen, but our one call, that's all this week, brought to you by Gerber Law Offices. How many birdies? What's my goal? How many birdies do I need to be making on May 8th?
Trying to think back to our battles over the years in this event. Well, I think that there's a lot of opportunity. I think with, cross our fingers, the weather is going to be good, but for my one call, that's all. I have you at 13 this year.
Ooh.
Wait, that's high, isn't it? That's kind of high.
I mean, that I like it, though. It's aggressive.
Does an eagle count as 2? Because there's a couple of eagle holes for you on those.
There are a couple of eagle holes. If you want to count it as 2, you can. I think I've made 2 eagles maybe in all the years that I've played. A lot of 2-putt birdies on number 1, but
I feel like 13. You're playing a lot. I feel like you're golfing your ball, playing a lot of golf right now.
Okay,
you're a little more in tune than maybe years past in the 100 holes.
All right. A little bit later, weather's going to be good. I like it. All right, 13.
13 for Knights. A lucky number 13. I'm feeling it.
That's the goal, which also means we would make Chewy pay out, $260 because he's pledged $20 per hole. So shout out to the big guy. You can do that too. Just shoot me a text.
You need to bring it to 15 at this point? What?
I mean, look, I want to make as many birdies to make the big guy pay as much money as he can.
I feel like you and I have almost always gotten to double digits.
Yeah.
Right around that 10, 11 mark. I'm feeling a good year for you, Gabe.
All right.
13.
He's Stephen Watson. I'm Gabe Neitzel. We'll be back again next week on the tee.